Hello again, and welcome back to the Slow Flowers Podcast with Deborah Prinzing. This is episode 574. This is the weekly podcast about slow flowers and the people who grow and design with them. It's all about making a conscious choice, and I invite you to join the conversation and the creative community as we discuss the vital topics of saving our domestic flower farms and supporting a floral industry that relies on a safe, seasonal, and local supply of flowers and foliage. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 850 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor, Farm Girl Flowers. Farm Girl Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $10 million of U.S.-grown, fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgrowflowers.com. Thank you to Cal Flowers, the leading floral trade association in California, providing valuable transportation and other benefits to flower growers and the entire floral supply chain in California and 48 other states. The association is a leader in bringing fresh-cut flowers to the U.S. market and in promoting the benefits of flowers to new generations of American consumers. Learn more at cafgs.org. I'm excited to share today's show with you for a number of reasons. My guest is farmer-florist Jenny Chantz of Merritt Meadows Flower Farm. Recently, we recorded this conversation about her farm, her market, her flowers, and her story. Our conversation began, though, this past April, when I reached out to Jenny for help with a few floral deliveries I wanted to send a friend who was experiencing some tough medical issues. I searched our map of Slow Flowers members in the greater Philadelphia market, comparing zip codes and distances, and I determined that Jenny's Merritt Meadows Flower Farm was pretty close to the facility where my friend had been admitted. I reached out, and to my delight, what I needed was exactly the type of specialized service that Jenny offers. It was springtime, so she harvested and designed 2 bouquets during a month, delivering them in person to my friend. While the need for flowers was a sad one, I felt so comforted having a Slow Flowers member to call. Jenny took the time to email me a list of the flowers she planned to harvest, including anemones, ranunculus, daffodils, and locally grown foliages of dusty miller, eucalyptus, euphorbia, privet, cherry laurel, and pachysandra. She made an organic floral arrangement that was so beautiful and sent me photos reassuring me that it all went well. Getting to know more about Jenny and Merritt Meadows Flower Farm inspired me to invite her to join me here as a guest on the Slow Flowers podcast. We're in for a treat. I titled this episode, Fourth Year Flower Farmer, and I think it's a really important thing to notice. She's not quite a beginner and she's not a veteran. She's kind of in that teenage stage, adolescent stage as a flower farmer, feeling very confident about what she grows and her methods, but knowing she's got to make some decisions going forward. So I think it'll feel relevant to many of you who are listening. Let's jump right in and meet Jenny Chantz. I'll share her social media places in our show notes. Okay, hey everybody. We are going to move on to part 2 of this show, and you've just seen the guided tour of Merritt Meadows Flower Farm, narrated and shot by Jenny Chantz. And now we're going to talk with Jenny. Hi, how are you, Jenny? Thanks for joining me.
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on. It's a great opportunity.
It is a great opportunity. I mean, it was kind of a quirky reason that we connected. I needed flowers delivered in your area. And of course, I'm going to go to a Slow Flowers member. And you took such good care of me on taking beautiful flowers that, were right out of your field and right out of your high tunnels into a friend. So first of all, thank you for that. And that's why we got to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And that's nice to have my name on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. And I want to talk a little bit about the flowers you're growing and then also your services, because, this delivering of local flowers really is part of your subscription program. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Why don't you give everyone a snapshot of Merritt Meadows and Fort Washington, you said, is northwest of Philadelphia, right?
That's right. That's right. And we're in a suburb of Philadelphia, and we have an 1.75 acre property, and I'm cultivating on a little over a 1/4 acre. We do have landscape beds around the house and around the high tunnel that I have shrubs that I use for foliages and that kind of thing. So I'm walking all over the property whenever I harvest each morning. So I'm all over the place.
You're getting your steps in, right?
Oh, totally, totally. And it's not flat. There's incline. So I'm all over.
Right, right. Well, so was it a historic property or is it an older house, or tell me about how long you've lived there?
That's a great question. Actually, this piece of property that we have was subdivided by my parents, and that's where Merritt comes from. And it was almost 4 acres, and it is an old farmhouse. And the earliest recorded time is 1754.
Wow.
So that house is next door where I grew up and where my parents lived after we built the house that we're currently in. Mm-hmm. My husband's an architect, so he designed our house. And it was such a blessing that, when I turned to this farming thing, we have a walkout basement and the property that, was open. And I think we only needed to take 1 or 2 trees down on the periphery. And
wow.
It's been, I know I could have more sun. That's one of the things that I think is a limiting factor for my property. And we have a drain field septic system, so I'm limited to how much I can dig in. But anyway, it's a nice little, and it's a private lane, so it's off the beaten path. So that's helpful too.
So you were a Merritt before you were a Chantz.
Correct. So that's where the Merritt Meadows come from. And my mom used to say, "All right, you kids go out and play in the meadow." So it was one of those things that, was something in my heart, and to name it after my parents. They're both deceased, and it's neat to have them a part of everything. So.
Yeah, it's family and place together. I love that. So taking into the consideration that you live where you farm, you are still developing the property to maybe what your vision is. Is this your 3rd season?
Actually, it's my 4th.
Okay.
So,
that's great.
We started in 19. And so that was my first growing season. But it actually in 2018 was when I identified the name and put it into the state.
So when you had this, idea to maximize your property for more than just a gorgeous lawn and beautiful landscaping shrubs, what kind of research did you do to try to identify your market, and to just talk a little bit about your market? And I'll pop up your website in a minute so people can see how you're structuring your CSA.
Yeah, I always like to be outside and garden, and so gardening was one of the things that I like to do on the side. I worked in the nonprofit sector. I was executive director of a local branch of a national faith-based child welfare organization, adoption and foster care. So I always was, gardening on the weekends and that kind of thing. Started working for the national office in 2013, and then became the director of fundraising events. So I was working remotely. Their office was in Grand Rapids, so I kept gardening. And one day I was at a farmer's market and they were out of zucchini. And I said, "Well, I'm growing zucchini. You want some?" And I sold some zucchini. And I have to tell you, the high that I had from selling something I grew was unbelievable. And so when I ended up getting laid off from that position with the severance, I just thought, you know what? I'm going to grow something different. I don't want to grow just veggies. Everybody has veggies. And nobody knows about flower farming in our area. There is Love and Fresh Flowers, Jenny Love, but there really isn't anything local in the suburbs. So I thought instead of vegetables, I would grow flowers. And the year before I started, I had a bumper crop of sunflowers and gave them around to all my friends and made everybody happy. And it was like, you know what, I can do this flower thing. So
I love it. You knew you could grow, and you knew what flowers did for people. So it was kind of like a
Yeah,
no-brainer, right?
exactly. So with the severance, I plowed it into tulips and anemones and ranunculus, and paid for the flower farming online course. So that was kind of, and my goal was to see if I heard about subscriptions through Jenny Love's farming class. And I thought, you know what, if I can get 15 subscribers before the end of the year, kind of sight unseen, people don't even know I can grow flowers or not. I found 15 people that agreed to do a flower subscription, and that launched me. I knew where my flowers were going to go the first year, and it just kind of grew from there.
Wow, that's amazing. It's almost like you built your market. You wanted to have your demand before you put a bulb in the ground or a seed in the ground.
Yes. Yeah. I like the idea of knowing where my flowers were going to go before I grew them. The idea of having all these flowers and know where to take them.
And that happens to people. And some of those people are listening to this podcast nodding and saying, I wish I had taken that advice. But other people are just getting started, and this will launch them with just excellent advice. Jenny, I'm going to put up your website right now just so we can look at how you structure it. And things might have changed. Oops, let me go back up here to the flower subscription service. Things might have changed because this is, as you said, your fourth season. But how is it similar to how you started, or let's see?
Oh yeah, it's like 3 season options. So if somebody wanted to just do spring, they could, or all 3, spring, summer, fall, and there are 4 bouquet subscriptions for each season, or they can modify it. And I do vase arrangements as well as loose flower. So the vase piece came from when I first started out. I assumed I'd have tall stems to put in my craft paper sleeves with my label on it, and I thought this was going to be great, but not all my stems were long, and I'm like, well, I need to use all my flowers. So I started arranging in vases, and then folks really liked having them already arranged and in a vase that they could just put on a table. So most of my subscribers are for vase arrangements.
And here's some that are on a feed across the bottom of your website. What is the situation with the vases then? Do you have recycle them with the subscribers?
Yeah, I'm like the milkman. So when I arrive with my, arranged vases, they hand me back their previous vase and off I go. And I sterilize, I clean them and
sure.
Yeah, and I get them from a local thrift store. So I'm reusing what's out there already, and it works out great.
Well, we're running into that here in Seattle too, where there's just like the wholesalers are, very low on inventory. And so the recycled vase from the thrift store is kind of, where people are shopping to find their vases. I know the recycling, encouraging customers to return their vases. It makes a lot of sense because we don't need more cheap glass, just a vessel to show off your flowers. It's about the flowers, not the vase, right?
Right. So there's all sorts that I find at the thrift store, and they just clean them up and they're good to go. And they break too often. So it just makes it less, worrisome. If somebody says they broke one or they gave their arrangement to a friend and I don't get it back, that's no big deal. Because the thrift store weighs them. They're not even per piece; they're weighed.
How funny!
I know. So each one is less than $1. So I might get 3 or 4 vases for $2.50 or something.
Yeah, that's great. We'll talk a little bit about the PCO. I did not know that there was a designated organics program in Pennsylvania, but that's great that you have front and center on your website.
Yeah, I subscribe or donate to Rodale. Have you ever heard of Rodale Institute?
Oh yeah.
So they're
that's right. That organization's based in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, in the Reading area. And so I just have always believed in organics. I did a science fair project in high school with pesticides and the environment. So I've always been very anti pesticides and chemicals. And so I always wanted to be organic if I could. And so on their website, Rodale's website, they had this call for free consultation to become organic. And I'm like, whoa, let me try that. So I gave them a call and got this lovely lady. Her name is Emily Gantz. She's awesome. And she walked me through the whole process. And it just has been a nice resource. I love being certified so that, you know, if people can say they're organic and they're not certified, and there is a full-on process to become certified.
Right. That's really cool. And I think what also is interesting is that program was probably originally introduced for vegetable growers or food growers. And are you one of the early adopters among flower farmers?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the only one that's a flower farmer that they have worked with. So I've gotten some referrals of flower farmer to be that are going through their classes. And actually, one of them is going to help me out while I'm away on vacation next week. She's going to come in, and I've taught her how to harvest and how to bunch flowers. So she's going to create some bouquets for me next week when I'm gone. So I'm really thankful for them. And Rodale's a good resource.
Well, and also kind of paying it forward to the future generations of farmers. That's awesome. You do get a frost, but it doesn't come right, in September or anything.
No, mid to late October is the first frost typically, and it can frost through April. Mid to late April, it can still frost.
Okay. But you have this beautiful high tunnel, or do you call it a greenhouse?
I call it a high tunnel.
Okay. Yeah. So that's an investment that you made when you had the property set up for the farm, right?
And CRS grants. So that was one of the first things that I did after I learned about it. And, I'm just such a geek. Like, I love that I had to go to the county and register my farm, which is my backyard. And I have a plot farm number that it's assigned to my little operation. And they came and inspected, and they said, yep, you can put it there. And I got a grant, and it covered 3/4 of the cost of it. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I have these like little milestones that, I think are kind of fun.
What's the dimension of that?
16 by 40.
Okay. And that sounds like that's probably enough for now, but maybe you'll add another one in the future, or what do you think?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm still learning how best to use it. I for sure know what to do over the winter, but in the summertime, it's a different story. So this year I have lots of different crops in there. Last year I thought, well, I'll do dahlias, thinking maybe that'll cut down on some of the wind and some of the rain events, whatever. But then it got moldy, and it just wasn't. Just the powdery mildew was more rampant there than it was out right now. I don't have any on my fields now. So anyway, I'm still learning. Each year is a different year, and how best where to put things. And crop rotation is a part of my plan as a
right. I was going to say, that's a real organic belief anyway. So you have a lot of liatris, and you have, at least in the tour, we saw Lisianthus too, right?
Yeah, I have a couple spots for Lisianthus just because I planted them at different times so that there can be kind of succession planting, but they pretty much develop similarly. So it worked out fine. And
that's sort of, it seems like that's your summer real estate, but then when you said what to do in the winter, it's because you're starting your bulbs and your anemones and ranunculus early,
they do great in there. I just keep swapping back and forth. And the eucalyptus does great in there, and the dusty miller does great in there. The atris I just put in this spring, and the basil, I had some extra space and that didn't work. So anyway, I'm learning all the time, like what's working, what's not working. So anyway.
So beyond the subscription bouquets, are you doing farmers markets or selling to florists, or what are your other channels?
Yeah, good question. I have a business that I deliver to, a nice big arrangement. That's where those photos are of. And so I do a business. I have 2 restaurants that I deliver to on Fridays. They have small centerpieces, and then a local food grocery store. They call it a co-op around here. So I'm hyper local organic flower farm. So
Wow.
they let me bring in however many bunches that I have for them. They do have another contract with another local flower farmer, but they've been very generous in giving me space and selling my flowers. So that's been good.
So are you doing design bouquets or straight bunches or a combination?
Yeah, thanks. For the co-op, it's straight bunches, but I also do birthday bouquets or feeling, get well bouquets or whatever for friends, for our church, for folks that, say, or many of my subscribers say, can you send my bouquet this time to so-and-so who just got out of the hospital?
Oh.
So one of my subscriber calls it a flower ministry. So it's very interesting. I've appreciated them doing that because it just kind of encourages other people. It spreads the joy and the
Yeah.
other people.
I love that. It's like they've paid it forward by pre-purchasing these flowers, and then they get to choose how they share it.
Yeah,
And
I have one that really pretty much sends them all out to everyone else.
but she's supporting you too.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
What does that mean for you on deliveries? Are you trying to have all your deliveries take place in one day, or so it's not taking you off the farm?
It is every day I deliver, pretty much Monday through Friday. So that's tricky. Like, I know real flower farmers, and listen to me, they probably harvest, I don't know, I'm just making this up, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm harvesting stuff every day. And then those go into those bouquets that day or the following day. So everything is moving quickly. I do have a flower fridge down in the basement, but it's not a walk-in cooler. So I need to move everything quickly. So when my husband joins next year, it'll be more helpful because I spend about an hour, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours delivering if I end up, going doing a lot. So I'll deliver anywhere from 3 to 5 a day. And it's typically at the end of the day. So
just curious, like the geographic area, is it like 10 miles or?
I kind of think about it in minutes. So I try to keep everything 15 minutes to the subscribers. And then if it's a one-off, I can go up to 30 minutes and they pay for delivery. So,
well, you did mention in the video that you shared with us that your husband's going to spend more time working with you next year. Yeah. So you're already making plans. Will he become your delivery driver, or will you?
I think so. And he comes with me sometimes to visit with some of my customers. I have a widow that, really enjoys having him join me. And so he will love it. And he's a deacon at our church. So he likes knowing people. And so he knows a lot of my customers already. So he is going to have a great time doing that. I'm going to miss not seeing some of the folks that like to come out and greet me. Some folks just say, leave it at the porch and, off you go. So I might not see anybody in a particular delivery day.
Right.
They'll do a great job.
Well, I think that's going to really be a game changer for you, not just with the deliveries, but probably with many other things too, in terms of how you reallocate planting areas and what you're growing.
I just run out of time. I can't make anymore. I have more flowers right now than I have time to make more bouquets and deliver them. So because I did grow more this year than last year, and I have the same amount of subscribers, but I do have the restaurants, which are new. And so I can use all those small flowers in those arrangements. So I'm using pretty much everything, but I do have more than I can handle right now.
Yeah. I like your philosophy though. Like, you're letting the stem length kind of determine the design, and the shorties all are going to go into the smaller centerpieces and bud vases for the restaurants. And then the dramatic tall one goes into the business design.
Yep, yep. And if they're curvy, that works in designs, or you cut off the curve and put it in a vase arrangement. So I can use pretty much everything, as long as I have time to design and make them all. So
Yeah. Wow. When you mentioned that you had a background in fundraising and development in the nonprofit sector, I immediately thought, this is why you're able to do sales. I mean, it's a different kind of business, but do you feel like some of those skills followed you into flower farming?
I would say more the executive directorship did, just more the planning, kind of putting yourself out there. But I would say it's similar. It's relationship building. Fundraising is, same thing for executive directoring, but just that whole planning and marketing. Like, I could market so much more. I turn away business because I can't. I don't have enough. My flowers are pretty much accounted for, or I don't have time to. But if someone here and pick through what I have, then that's fine. But I can't guarantee. So that's the other thing. I can't guarantee someone I'm going to be able to give them such and such a color. So it doesn't really work for me unless somebody is like, whatever you have growing, I'd love to see what, and design from that, which I can manage that. But if you're looking for red or some colors, then that might be harder for me at a particular.
But it sounds like you've kind of trained people that grower's choice is the way to go. Like these restaurants and businesses, they're taking the best of the week that you're pulling together for them. Yeah.
Correct.
That's interesting. Well, do you have people who come? Do you allow people to come to the farm, and are you planning to do more of that?
Last year I had a farm tour, and anybody that's interested in coming, I walk them through, which is fun. But this year we're going away on a 2-week trip, and I'm trying to plan that. And I've been very, very, very busy. So I just haven't had the energy to plan it, but maybe this fall, I think it's a possibility. Last year I had a farm tour. Last year I also did a class with a friend that's an artist. So I would teach folks how to design their flowers, and she would teach them how to paint. So we've done that twice, which is a lot of fun.
That's neat.
I'd like to do a plein air one where they're all outside and can set up an easel and, focus on some flowers and paint.
And you're just the host. You're the host who welcomes them, but you don't necessarily have to teach them anything.
Well, no, I'll teach them how to do the floral design.
And then they'll
teach them how to paint. But you're right. The plein air piece is all about kind of setting yourself up and seeing the landscape.
So students who come, are they pretty much already in your circle of customers, or are they? How do you promote that?
The last classes we had, they were more in the circle of the artist. So it was out near to her in another section, kind of near King of Prussia. So that's about a half hour from here. So more of those folks, but I'd like to have one local, because some of the folks said that they'd be interested, but it's a little too far for them. So,
but you're not planning on having like a farm stand or on-farm retail at this point, because you just don't have the flowers for it.
It's more the location. Like it's a private lane. We're not zoned for business really. So it just wouldn't work to have people driving in and out. So but it's one thing if they came to visit or have a class, and it's but not on a regular.
Not like open to the public. Yeah.
No. If I had a little farm stand, that would, I don't know. They're out in the elements. I feel like I don't want them sitting outside for very long, so I'd really like that much.
Yeah.
But
I'm always intrigued about how people set up their farm stands. Like, is there a cover because of that exact issue, And
I know. I mean, these flowers, they last a good week or more, but if you leave them out in the heat, they're toast. Yeah.
And you've got the humidity as well. So I can see where, wow. Well, it's probably, I would think that the next thing you might do is add a cool bot or some larger walk-in cooler space if you wanted to have kind of hold flowers. But it sounds like you're basically cutting to order now, so you don't have as much of that demand.
I am. And my husband was Keith the other day goes, now each one of these is so unique. Like whatever is growing then is what I put in. So so they're all made to order and whatever is growing at the time. And my customers really appreciate that and understand it. And they're like, wow, what's that flower? What's that? So I'm educating folks on local flowers and locally grown flowers and field grown flowers. So
yeah, that's really important. And you have, when you sell at the grocery store, are you putting a sticker on the bunch? So there's some marketing there too, right?
Totally. Yeah, it has my label and Care for Flowers and the little PCO sticker and So.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so it's tempting to ask what's on tap, but we've already talked about you doubling your labor force next year.
I don't know if you'd say doubling, but at least I get a driver out of the deal.
I'm just actually kind of curious, as we start looking toward the end of the year, fall and fourth quarter, do you wrap things up with when the frost hits, or do you carry into the holiday season with anything special that I don't know, uses forage material or that sort of thing?
Yeah. I am drying a lot of flowers this year that are extra. So I have I made a wreath out of dried, a grapevine wreath with some dried flowers, and I'd like to do a couple of those. If there's enough flowers, maybe I'll sell some of those, but I will go right up to the frost and then kind of collapse and say, I finished my season, yay. And then I will then give myself a month break, and then I'll start talking about next year. So I'll create the pricing structure for next year. And my son helps me with the marketing. So he helps me with the website and, so I appreciate having him help me out with that. And so each year I increase my prices because they're pretty low, and I can increase those.
Yeah, right. And it seems like you're getting a lot of return customers. And when do you let them know the menu for the following year? Like in December, or?
Yes, it has been like November 5th, and then I say you have a month to let me know that you're wanting to be interested, and then I post it on the website. So I give returning customers first dibs because I'll fill up. So I can't do unlimited. So
how many do you have now? You started year one with 15 subscribers.
I'm up to 40 plus. So depending on, the season and that kind of thing. So some of the spring folks will fall off, and then I'll get some new ones through the summer that are referred by customers. So it's about 40 plus the restaurants.
That's fantastic. I mean, that is like a little recipe for getting started. And, so many people used to just get started at the farmers markets where it's basically consignment selling. And now, by redefining the kind of that entry level market to subscribers, every stem is purchased before you cut it. And you're not standing at a farmer's market all day on a Saturday. So I think this is really just reminding me that this is if you can get the customers, and like you said, you're relationship oriented, if you can find the people, they've invested in you.
Yeah. And that helps me pay for, bulbs coming up. Like, it just is wonderful. I really appreciate getting that nice hit of revenue coming in at the end of the year when things are slow. So, so that has worked out really well.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to share some photos on our show notes when we post this at slowflowerspodcast.com. But the video was the great opener to give us a sense of place before we could talk with you. So I just really appreciate you taking the time to film that and narrate that. And it's makes me want to visit the next time I'm in the Philadelphia area.
Well, you're welcome to come anytime. Love to have you.
Yeah, you bet. Hey, before we wrap up, Jenny, what did I forget to ask you that you want to make sure we share with the listeners?
That's a great question. I think we covered most everything, other than when I get calls from budding flower farmers, and they'll say, well, what are you growing now? Or what should I be thinking about growing? And I'm like, have you taken a class? Have you taken
Have
a
you read a
course?
book? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, so I'll say, I'll answer a couple questions for you. I'd be happy to, and I'll be here, but I really feel like you should take, and I give them a couple names of classes so that they're not dependent on me to help them, what they need to be doing next.
Yeah, have to put in the work.
So yeah, I took the plunge and took classes on floral design, and I'm certified as a floral designer, which I think helps me feel more confident when I'm designing. And now I kind of know more what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Initially, I didn't. And then I thought, you know what? I don't really know what I'm doing. No, I've not taken any classes. I've seen some YouTube videos. And so I think, I don't know, I encourage folks to take classes so that they're in a legit, situation.
Especially if you are selling design bouquets rather than straight bunches, because so often the wonderful thing is too that you really see yourself. I see flower farmers as artists, especially because they're growing these beautiful art supplies. So the fact that you're a farmer florist and you're you have the certification, not that people are quizzing you, but it's sort of like you said, it gives you that sense of like, yeah, I got this. I know what I'm doing. So it's good advice.
Yeah, thanks.
We're just excited also to let people know how to find and follow you. So I'll add all your social places. And Jenny, thank you so much. It's just been great to talk about your business.
You're welcome.
Take care.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for joining me today. You'll want to visit slowflowerspodcast.com for episode 574. You can watch the replay video of my interview with Jenny and watch the tour of Jenny's flower farm, which she filmed for me. Since you and I can't visit in person, this is just going to have to be our bonus. Our next sponsor thanks goes to Store It Cold, creators of the revolutionary CoolBot, a popular solution for flower farmers, studio florists, and farmer florists. You can save thousands when you build your own walk-in cooler with the CoolBot system and an air conditioner. If you don't have time to build your own, they also have turnkey units available. Learn more at storeitcold.com. Well, it's September, and I wanted to give you a heads up that our monthly Slow Flowers member meetup is returning after our summer break. Typically, we all meet in the Zoom room on the second Friday of each month. But for this month only, we've scheduled the meetup for the third Friday, September 16th, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Our focus is diving into retail flower shops, and you'll meet 4 Slow Flowers members who will join us virtually from their new retail spaces and give us all a tour. How can you create your community's favorite little flower shop? Our member experts will share their checklist for anyone thinking of moving from a private studio or farm to the retail landscape. You can find the pre-registration link in today's show notes for episode 574, and the link is always found in our Instagram profile menu at Slow Flower Society. Our final sponsor thanks goes to Details Flowers Software, a platform specifically designed to help florists and designers do more and earn more. With an elegant and easy-to-use system, Details improves profitability, productivity, and organization for floral businesses of all shapes and sizes. Grow your bottom line through professional proposals and confident pricing with Details all in one platform. All friends of the Slow Flowers podcast will receive a 7-day free trial of Details Flowers software. You can learn more at detailsflowers.com. Thanks so much for joining us today. The Slow Flowers podcast is a member-supported endeavor, downloaded more than 883,000 times by listeners like you. Thanks for listening, commenting, and sharing. It means so much. As our movement gains more supporters and more passionate participants who believe in the importance of our domestic cut flower industry, the momentum is contagious. I know you feel it too. If you're new to our weekly show and our long-running podcast, check out all of our resources at slowflowersociety.com and consider making a donation to sustain Slow Flowers' ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find the donate button at slowflowerspodcast.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of The Slow Flowers Show and The Slow Flowers Podcast. The Slow Flowers podcast is engineered and edited by Andrew Brenlin. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time, and I'll see you then.